All right. So today is super, super special because I get to interview two incredible people who I just absolutely adore. And one of them is my namesake. So, of course, she's absolutely wonderful, Tina Salerno, which I'm excited. I don't get to interview too many Tinas, Tina. So this will be fun. And then Jim, you're my oldest brother's name. So it's perfect. That's why,
Oh,
another reason why I love you both so much. But Tina and Jim Salerno, how long you guys have been married?
15 years, 15 and a half years.
I love it. I know I'm always like thinking too, like, how long is it? And I'm like, I think it's 35, but I can't remember. So sometimes I have to get my calculator out.
Uh-huh. Yeah. This anniversary, I was like, it's 16 years. And he's 16. Are you sure? I'm like, oh, wait, let's do the math. It's 15 years. So
I
15
love
years.
it.
How often does
Thank
that
you
happen
both.
that the guy knows and
I
the wife
know.
doesn't?
Never.
Never.
Yeah, never. Never ever. Good job, Jim. I love it. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to introduce Jim. Jim is James Anthony Salerno. He's a second generation in the beauty industry. That's amazing. He's been following his father's legacy. He's owned and operated James Anthony Salon since 1991, along with his wife, Tina. They co-own the salon, and they're also co-founders and co-owners of Paul Mitchell School Chicago and Paul Mitchell School-Lombard. And Jim is known in the beauty industry for his passion and enthusiasm for sharing his knowledge and experience with the future professionals, because education has always been the backbone to the success of James Anthony Salon, and it's key to growth and sustainability. James Anthony Salon has been the #1 Paul Mitchell Focus Salon in Illinois for the past 20 years. Jim has experienced many turns in the beauty industry, and when asked what he attributes his success to, he will tell you, when people come first, success will follow, which is a favorite John Paul DeJoria quote. As we know, growing up in the salon world, being around his father, who owned and operated his salon for 50 years, Jim always knew he had to go out on his own to create a space like he grew up in and to provide us a beautiful and successful salon for people to thrive and their goals and dreams become a reality. And then Tina, she has a passion and love for the beauty industry through extensive education and dedication. She's grown her career in addition to adding a cosmetology teacher's license, which she uses to grow the future of the industry by guiding and coaching the future professionals. Tina believes that when you love what you do, love who you do it with, and love who you do it for, success will follow. Education and giving back are what allows Tina to move forward, and in return, she grows her talents and her life. Tina is recognized in the industry as a leader who not only applies her positive attitude, but employs the imagination and creativity that keeps us on the cutting edge. She was written up in Chicago Magazine as a top 49 stylist in Chicago as a long hair specialist. And she says, I absolutely love the industry I've chosen that has made my dreams a reality. And my team, our beautiful salon space, and our schools. First of all, I love the fact that you say your #1 salon in the Chicago area, and then you said you're top 49, but I bet you're top one, Tina. So
Well,
let's talk about that, because how do you get to be? Let's start with you, Tina, first, and then Jim will go to you. But how do you become the top 49 stylists in Chicago?
well, I wanted to be a hairdresser since I was 8 years old. So for me, I couldn't wait to get through school to start my life and start my career. I had great mentors growing up. My cousin was a hairdresser that I absolutely admired from when I was a little kid. And I have several hairdressers in my family. On top of, I was blessed with right from the beginning, from 17 years old, is when I started at James Anthony Salon as a receptionist at that time. To have amazing mentors in my life. I mean, Steve and Terry have been in my life from the beginning, and Robert Cromings, and so I mean, and all of you through the school industry. So I do believe that it is who you surround yourself with, and having the willingness to be critiqued along the way, and so that you can get to the next level. So for me, I do believe that it's who you surround yourself with and how hard you're willing to put effort and work into to get what you want out of it.
I love that. How are you able to balance, Tina, between the school and the salon? Like, what is if I were to spend the day with you or a week, what would that look like? What's your schedule look like?
Yeah, at the beginning, we kind of try to be everywhere and do everything. And then we quickly figured out that it was hard to do that and be behind a chair. I'm behind a chair about 33 to 35 hours a week. So it was hard for me to do that as well as continue to develop the future of our salons. So we decided that Jim was going to be in the school world and I was just going to focus on the salons and really grow the talent that way. And it worked really well for 10 years. Um, and then we opened up a second salon location, which was the salon that Jim started out in. It was his dad's salon. And we had this vision of what it was going to be. And we just thought, okay, we have a successful salon. A second salon is going to be great. It's going to be easy. We'll do a new business model with it. We'll have some fun with it. And about a year later, that just didn't work out. And so at that point, Jim stepped away from the schools and, spent more time in the salon world. So needless to say, I really don't spend a lot of time in the school world. My focus is definitely the salon world. However, I get the blessings of getting our future professionals at the end of their school career or once they graduate and they come in, and then I get to nurture that and grow that to hopefully some of them, most of them have become the future of our salon. So that's where I live. I don't really live day to day in the school world. So if you were to hang with me, I'm behind the chair. I'm, having fun with my salon team and doing what I
I
love.
love it. Yeah, I can't wait to hear more and unravel this. So, Jim, number one in Chicago for 20 years. How do you become number one?
Well, I mean, that's based on Paul Mitchell sales. And, I've always been a believer in take home. I love when Steve and Terry implemented that take home phrase instead of doing it retail. And we really focus just on the education, that every guest that comes into the salon is educated. We really don't talk about selling product. We talk to our stylists about educating the guest all the way through the service. And then when you go up to the take home area, you're not trying to sell them the product. It's up to them whether or not they make the decision, make the choice to purchase the take home based on the education that you gave them at the chair. And it's really, really, really worked well for us over the years. And this year, we're having a spectacular year take home wise, and we're really having a spectacular year all around in the salon too. So again, we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we believe in the education that happens behind the chair too. It's not just about standing there doing beautiful hair all day. It's about educating the guests to make sure they can recreate whatever we do at the chair.
I love that. Give me some real numbers here. So what is your retail percentage? And also, if you're willing to share, like how much retail do you sell on average before COVID and after COVID, let's say on average per month?
Our average per month is probably around $15,000 to $18,000
Wow.
per month.
Okay.
So yeah, we do pretty good with the retail, and that's been driven home from early on in my career. I just remember going to numerous shows, and anybody that any product line that I've seen on the stage over the years when they talk specifically to salon owners, they talk about the importance of the take home part of what we do to have a successful salon, and really how I see the way this works is it's really like having another stylist in the salon without anybody calling in late or calling in, sick or, they're always there.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to drill down a little bit deeper because I know our listeners are going to be thinking, okay, I want to do $15,000 or $18,000 a month. I know I do. So I'm going to learn a lot from you today, Jim and Tina. So I can't wait to drill down. But first of all, if I were to follow you around for a day or a week or a month, what's your day-to-day life look like?
Well, my day-to-day now is specifically in the salons. I'm at just SalonJAS, our smaller salon, and really trying to get some legs. We just had a real struggle with that salon as far as, and that's why I stepped away from the schools for a while and took a little bit more of a silent partner role than being in the schools right now, was to help grow the salon. And it seems like every time we get some legs in this salon, we lose somebody. I mean, we had a girl that's been with us for 10 years, James Anthony, brought her down to jazz a couple of years ago. and she's moving to Sweden. So now it's back down to me and one other girl, just when we were ready to get another one on board. And so it's, hiring has been a little bit of a challenge. Hiring has been a little bit of a challenge. And anybody I talk to right now, salon owners, it's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, this is amazing, because are you full-time behind the chair too, Jim, or are you just strictly working on your business?
I am. I wouldn't call it full-time behind the chair. When I'm not at Jazz, I go down to James Anthony. The salons are about 2 blocks apart. So I'll hang out, I just kind of hang out in both of the salons and do coaching. We do a lot of one-on-one coaching with the team. We do that quarterly, as well as, try to do it monthly too, where we sit down with the girls or at least celebrate the numbers that are happening. And we do that every week during our Saturday morning powwow.
Yeah, I love that. How many team members, stylists, I should say overall team members, do you have versus stylists?
Overall team members, there's 24 of us. Stylists at Salon James Anthony, there's 9, including myself. And at SalonJAS, there's 2, including Jim.
Okay, I love
and
that.
And then we have 5 assistants.
5
right.
assistants. Okay.
So we say 5 assistants because 2 of them are actually rising stars. The other 3 are 16-year-old high school that are just phenomenal.
Incredible.
Like we've taught them how to do shadow rooting. We're like, okay, we're going to grow you from the ground up. So when you graduate high school and go to cosmetology school, you're going to be ready to go. So, and that's kind of where the shift is happening for us right now. We're not doing things the way we were doing it pre-COVID. And I think that COVID definitely woke us up into how to look at things a little bit differently. So, yeah.
Yeah. I want to hear more about that. Like what did it do to make you look at things differently? I want to dig into that. But first, let's go back to this take home. I know everyone's going to be dying to know, like, how do you do it? Like, what's your secret sauce? You mentioned education and getting it in everybody's hands, but what else? I mean, like, yeah, I think we try to do that, but what else do you do? Give me all the deets.
Well, it's also about recognizing and celebrating the victories, and again, we do that every Saturday during powwow. And I think that's a huge thing, is to be able to look at the numbers and share the outstanding numbers. And people love to hear when they're doing things great, and then having the tough conversations when I'm sitting in my office and I'm looking at the numbers and I'm seeing the take home dollar per guest for one of our stylists is at, $6 or $8 per guest, and they're supposed to be at $14 or $15 per guest. And you let that go. It doesn't happen every single week where they're going to hit the big numbers, but then you let that go a couple of weeks, and then you sit them down, and typically it's, I've been really focusing on my rescheduling, or I've been focusing on this. Okay, well, let's not forget about this too. So again, it's as when Claybaugh always says, it's to sit, reminding, and then also reminding them of the reward. We do our take home. They get 10% of whatever they do and take home. And how we work that is they don't get it every paycheck. We hold on to that to the end of the year. So at the end of the year, somebody that sells $20,000, $25,000 throughout the year take home, they've got a $2,000, $2,500 check right at Christmas when everybody's tapped out because they spent all their money on everybody else. And we just think that really works. It's really worked out well for us, and our team really enjoys that as well.
Oh my gosh, I love that idea. So 10% at the end of the year overall of what they sold. Right. So it's not based on their sales versus retail. It's just straight 10% of what they sold. That's amazing. So would you attribute that to a lot of your success with this, or do you think that that's not necessarily the reason why people sell take home?
I think it's a combination of both. I think our team is very well versed on creating the experience for our guests behind the chair. And they've been enough around the Stephen Terrys and the Roberts and the Stephanie Kachelskis and the Jim Salernos. And, they've been around enough to understand that if they're not getting it from us, they are getting it somewhere else. So why not help yourself become more successful and allow that guest to really experience every asset of our business? And so I think that that's driven home quite a bit. And truly, we have a team that understands that, they really get behind the why of doing it, the reasoning behind it. I loved, I think it was a little while back, Mary Cromings came up with this, I use this because I'm doing this because, and we've kind of adopted that dialogue, and it's really made a difference to, I'm not doing it just because I want to do it or I want to sell something. It's because we just discussed how you don't like your hair, after you style it, or it doesn't last, or you always tell me you can't recreate this at home. It's because you're not trusting me enough with the tools that I'm using in the salon. And so I think that makes a difference too. So they believe it. I think that you, just like with anything, if your heart's not in it, if you don't believe it, we can sit and talk and educate till we're blue in the face, but you have to see the difference. And I think that we have a team that stands behind that.
And we also, we've got several mentors in our salon that have been doing it for a long time, Tina being one of them for sure. But they're seeing it, what I've always, it's pointed out, and I can't wait. I hope John Harms is going to watch this, because I've talked to him about something similar to Zizor.
Yeah.
Because Zizor doesn't work with Movado now, or Mevo. And we need something like that, so the girls keep the numbers in front of them. They're on the app, but they're not, it's not as easily read as it was with Zizor. So we're looking for something like that. But the girls know, and they've seen it over the years, the girls that are, the people that are doing the best in our salons are the ones that do sell the most take home. And how we talk about that in the salon is their guests are more educated than everybody else's guests. And they seem to retain clients better if they're giving their full education. Again, it's the full, we talk about it as the full James Anthony experience. Again, it's not just about standing behind that chair and doing great haircuts. It's about, the great shampoo experience and why we use that shampoo and what the benefits will be, and the conditioner and every styling product that we use and how we use it and how much we use. And this is what it's going to do for you. Again, that full education as to what we do. And that really fuels the take home sales for sure.
Yeah, that's huge. How has Amazon
and I guess the other thing too, Tina, the one other thing too would be having numbers in place. And this is something something that we've been coached by Steve and Terry for years and years and years, and there's a lot of things, they've got so much in their repertoire of what needs to be done in the salon. And sometimes when you first hear it, you fight it a little bit, because you got to be ready for that part of a change in your salon when you implement it. And so we've implemented so much. I'm probably pretty much everything that Steve and Terry talk about, what needs to be done in a salon. And that's been a huge part of our success too, is being able to be coached, like Tina said, by Steve and Terry and Robert Cromings, and,
I love it.
Some great mentors.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone needs a coach. A coach needs a coach too, because you can't see your blind spots. And I love that. How has Amazon affected your sales?
I can't say that it really has affected us too much. We'll price match anything that's on Amazon. I think it's kind of, Steve came out with, "Are you better than a click?" And I loved when he said that. And when he did that little class on, "Are you better than a click?" Because we are better than a click. When you go on Amazon, they're not going to give you that education. Do you know you're purchasing the right products? And so we do still get the customers that come up with their cell phones, after you've made that great recommendation and they love the way their hair feels. And then they come up to the take home area and they're taking pictures of the product. And we've trained our girls at that point, say, what, if you're going to try to find that on Amazon, that's great, but know that we'll match any price on Amazon. And when you purchase it here, you're taking it right home. And you're also supporting small business within the community, which is so important for so many people today.
And we're very vocal, both with our voice, and also we have different things around the salon that say, the reason it's important, why it matters to us that you support us and you shop local and you trust your hairstylist, and that your stylist plus the product equals knowledge. And so that makes a difference too. We're very, very vocal about the reason that you should support local and why it makes a difference. We're so involved with our community, and in Oak Park and the River Forest area, which is where we are at. I have to say they are a very community driven area. And so they love nothing more than to support and see the team rise and the business rise. And so we have a lot of that, which is great. And so we're not shy about, listen, you have to support us. Like, if you don't support us, then the way we support your children's baseball teams, and, you know, we support a local drive, or, you know, we come out and do all of that. This is your turn now to show us all that love, because it's a difference between a family being successful and living out what they need to live out, and not. So again, I think that COVID was one of the things that drove it home for us. Like, we need to get out there and say why it's important, and we have, and that's what I think has made the difference for us, for sure.
I love that. Yeah, let's talk about COVID. So how did you guys shift the way you do business after last year? So we'll start with you, Tina, first, and then Jim.
Well, at the beginning, to say that it wasn't the hardest years of our life, it was the hardest year of our life. I mean, we spent days sweating and crying and online and looking at what we can do. And especially, I think our industry, so two things in our industry. One, there wasn't much out there for our industry at the beginning, but two, the amazing beauty industry that we are in, because even though there wasn't information out there for us, everybody started rallying around and making noise online about, this is what needs to happen, this is what to look at, go to this site, look at this, look at that. And so I think that our industry definitely became much more elevated and was put on the map, and has a lot more respect these days than what it did. So I love that. But two, at the beginning, when we came back, we could only have 10 people in the salon. And this was interesting. So at SalonJAS, which is a 1,200 square foot facility, we can have 10 people. And at James Anthony, a 3,000 square foot facility, we can have 10 people. So we were like, okay, this doesn't really work, but okay, we'll make it work. So at the beginning, we worked every day, Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And we split the team. 5 would work during the day, 4 would work in the afternoon, 8 to 3, 3 to 9. And we did that for a couple of months. And then we were able to shift into, what was it, 15%?
Yeah, the following phase.
The following phase was 15%. However, in our salon, we removed every other station. So there's almost 9 feet between one stylist and the next. And then we removed the chair at the color bar. We put plexiglass where we could. So everything that, we were told to do, we pretty much did. We have a bi-weekly company. It's called a Pure One Clean company that comes in and sanitizes the whole salon, which then means we spend a whole day in the salon wiping everything down. And we really wanted to make sure that our team felt safe coming back, and we had not an issue there. They were absolutely on board with everything we were doing, as well as we didn't make all the decisions by ourselves. Our team is very much involved with everything that we do. So we got on Zoom calls and we said, this is what we're thinking. What do you guys think? And they said, great, let's do it. Or what about if we add this? Or what about if we do that? So I think that when you have a team and leadership that does that, it's, again, you have to be successful afterwards, and if it doesn't work out, then we shift and we pivot. But so far it's been pretty great. And we're still pretty much implementing all of that, the masks, the temperature checks, the sanitation, the social distancing, and we are now at 25% capacity. So it hasn't changed. I'm sorry, 50% capacity, sorry, which hasn't changed too much, because in order to keep everybody socially distanced, maybe it's 2 or 3 more people in the salon, but not much. So,
yeah. Jim, anything you would add that you guys shifted?
Well, we're shifting the way we're doing business as far as hiring. In fact, we talked with Robert and Mary last week, and we've been talking about this since we were home with for COVID, about what we're going to have to do moving forward. And we saw the need that we're going to need stylists right away. We had a couple of kids in the training program, or we have a couple of kids in our training program, but we're looking, how do we shorten this training program now if we're going to continue with a training program, shorten it big time? And what is it going to look like moving forward? Because we've only done that once in the last 15 or 18 years, where we've hired somebody that already did hair somewhere else. And it worked out really, really well for us. She was a national educator for Paul Mitchell prior to coming over by us, had done hair for a long time, and we knew her talent. But kind of going back to that old school, all right, let's have somebody come in, do a couple models and hire them, we're not going to do it. We're not doing it exactly like that. And we still have yet to find a stylist. We're working on a recruiting program, and what is that going to look like? How do we have to change it, because we're putting ads on Facebook, we have ads on Instagram. That's not really working for us.
Zip Recruiter.
Yeah, we even
in the schools.
We even did a Craigslist ad.
We did a Craigslist.
I'm ready to put them in the newspaper. But I guess
That'll get them in.
Talking to Robert and Mary last week. Robert talked about, and I've seen a couple of his things on social media about maybe a signing bonus. So that's kind of what we're kind of toying around with right now, is to a signing bonus, and what is that going to look like? Just to bring somebody in that, that has some talent. But again, huge, somebody that does come in, there's so much opportunity in our salons, both of them, James Anthony, we even coming back from COVID, we're averaging about 100 new clients every month that are walking into that business. We're down stylists from COVID. We had a couple girls that have moved out of state. So we're definitely down, but really this year, we're pretty parallel with what we did. We're like $10,000 off for the year with what we did in 2019. And 2019 was by far the best year that we ever had. So, again, I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Are we going to be able to do what we did in 2019? I sure hope so, but we're going to definitely need some help along. We're going to need some help. We need some stylists in there. So great opportunity for any stylist to come to work for us, as far as we can put people in their chair. We can grow their business at a really, really rapid pace.
I love that. I love that you shifting, how you're training and getting them ready as well too. And I think that's been a dire need that's been needed to happen. And even my salons, but salons all over the country, these 2-year, assisting programs, you just weren't going to get it. I know you weren't doing 2 years, but some salons did prior to COVID. And then they realized, but they started to see that, wow, they're not going to be able to get our students from Paul Mitchell schools if they're putting them on a 2-year program. Do you want to touch base on that? And then I have some really incredible questions. I want to start asking you guys some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
So the 2 years, we see that. The kids don't want to go. They don't want to, you see it in the schools. They don't want to assist. They want to come out and do hair,
right.
And we know that, you've been in the business long enough that's not necessarily going to be the path to success for these young people, is to put them behind a chair right out of beauty school. That's not going to work.
I think they realize that too. Once they start working in a salon, they do realize that they need help with their dialogue. That it's not, you're not always going to get that easy guest in your chair that knows exactly what you want, and it's an easy color. Like you have to understand the dialogue that needs to get behind of how to get down to the root of what you can do to provide the best experience for the guest. And at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about, right? Like you get into beauty school because you do it because in your mind, not only do you want to have fun doing hair, it is a fun industry, absolutely, but you care for others, and it's important to you to make that difference for somebody. And that sometimes doesn't necessarily come naturally if you don't understand the questions that need to come out to bring out the best in that person that's sitting in your chair. So I'm not saying 2 years, which we never did 2 years. Ours was like 6 months to a year. It could definitely be done in 4 to 6 months, but it's all on the effort that is put in at the beginning on that, that graduates on them. It's on them on how fast you want to do it. And we've had stylists that have done it in 3-4 months, and we've had stylists that it took them 1.5 years. And so it's not a fault, and it's not a right or wrong. It's the pace that you set for yourself. However, you have to also, what you put in is what you get out. So don't get upset at the salon owners or at the team or at the business if you are not further along than what you wish for. It's what are you putting in to get out what your end result is. And so it was time to redo our training program. And so we're having a little fun with it. And it's kind of right now, like the team that's with us, we're like, okay, let's try it. And, we've tried a few things. It hasn't quite worked, but we're willing to tweak it. And that's, I think at the end of the day, isn't that the best why you get a successful business is because it's not, well, we've always done it that way. And so I think we're learning the same way that they're learning. So we're on this crazy train together, and sometimes it goes super fast and sometimes we're just at a stop and we're like, what are we doing? What's happening here? So.
And it's not always easy. I mean, I don't know if you feel this way, Tina, but it's not always easy to adapt to the new things that are
Right.
coming up in the industry, and I mean, I remember working for my dad back in, the late 80s, and before James,
Maybe don't say that.
and telling him, Dad, we should have a computer behind the desk. And I don't need no computer. The appointment book's fine. Or, we need to take charge cards. I mean, that's how long ago, this was. We need to take charge cards. And I'm not going to pay the juice on the charge cards. And he's always done it. Eventually he did come around and do all those things. But it's hard to pull the trigger. When you've been successful doing what you've been doing, it's hard to pull the trigger and change. But you have to think about, what if I don't? If I don't make that change, are we going to continue with the success that we've experienced for all of these years? And I think the answer would probably be no.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's really
but it's difficult sometimes. It's very difficult sometimes.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, just trying to really embrace change and getting your whole team on board. That's a whole nother ball game as well. So Sean and I, we do a 6-month business and leadership course for salon leaders as well as salon owners, right? And so we're going through it right now. And I want to just do some rapid fire with you guys, because this is something that you never really graduate from, this course that we do. It's a 6-month course, and it's the 5 strategies of a healthy business. So meaning to get you to those numbers that you were talking about, right? And so I want to kind of hear from you, what have you done or what are you doing now, right, to work in each of these areas? So I'll tell you what areas they are, one at a time. So the first month we spend on foundation. And interesting enough, we talk a lot about in our Paul Mitchell schools, what's made us so successful is our foundation, because our culture makes us unique, right? And so, our schools kind of train us like, this is how you run any business, right? And so if it's not written down, it's not a system. But then we walk into salons, many salons, and they really don't have any systems in writing. I was just talking to a salon owner today that was doing a salon meeting with a bunch of salons, and he's going through our course, and he said, I asked them about their written values or values that they have, and he said it was crickets. Not one person had any written down values. And so in our companies, we train our salons to create, train, and sustain, right? And so what is the one thing that you've been doing this year to really fix your foundation? And what advice would you give to other salon owners right now?
I don't know that we are necessarily fixing. I think that we are adjusting and adapting. And I think that we have, like you said, very strong core values. And so one of the things that when we were talking to Terry Cowan while we were shut down, we said, we're adjusting so much, but at the same time, we don't want to lose who we are. And so it's important to us that at the end of the day, our team, our future team members, and our guests still walk into our business and say, this is James Anthony. This is Jim and Tina. This is Jenna, who works at James Anthony. This is Megan, and so our core values are still what they are. I mean, I think that continue to be kind, have empathy, have fun, believe in education, believe in growth. Like, that's never going to go away. Like, we're never not going to do any of those things, but we needed to shift, meaning we needed to understand that a new generation is coming into our world and that they needed something different from us than what we were providing before. And so I think that's the key, most importantly, that we've learned. And it's been as a husband and wife and a partnership in business, it's not always easy because we don't always see eye to eye. At the end, we come together, but it's like sometimes I have to prove, like, why should we shift it? And he has to prove to me, like, why should we stay the same? Or and so there's always a pull. How do you say it? A tug and pull.
Tug of war.
Tug of war. Tug of war. But I think that if you always if you do it for the goodness of the people, no matter who it is, then everything else that you try to implement, the people will stand behind you, right? Because they know that it's not for us, you know, it's for the goodness of what's to come out for everybody that's involved who joins us, or whether that's a guest or whether that's a team member.
Yeah, I love that. It's a constant create, train, sustain. Create,
Absolutely,
train, sustain, and going
absolutely.
back.
That's never going to go away. I mean,
Never.
how long he's been in the industry, how long I've been in the industry, it's never going to go away. I mean, every time we went to summits, I mean, what was it? Like, it wasn't that the whole wheel was reinvented. It was, okay, this is what we're doing really well. This is what we need to work on. And so, and that's, I think, what we continue to do.
I love that. And, you know, like you said, you never graduate from it. You have to constantly adjust and adapt. And for us, it's working on this take home piece. So I'm so glad you shared with us, because I'm learning so much from you already that we're going to shift. But something that I love that you said, the full James Anthony experience. And I bet you don't leave that for chance. I bet you it's in writing. You practice the dialogue, you go over and over and over it. And that's why your take home sales are still high and you're doing incredible numbers. And so for us, that's what's broken for us, part of our foundation. So we need to fix that part of it and come up with, you know, like some real solid systems to be able to help it to grow. And hey, we might adapt it next year, and that's fine. You know, I make the rules and I break the rules. That's what I tell our salon leaders. You know, we have that opportunity to constantly adapt and shift. So that's the first month is on foundation. The second month, we focus on fixing our leadership. Right. And so we always talk about the law of the lid, you know, and people are attracted to who you are as a leader, right? People don't quit companies, they quit people. And so you never graduate from building your own leadership. So how would you say that what's your biggest strength that people can learn from with your leadership? And what is an area that you're working on? So we'll start first with you, Jim.
Sustainability. You know, we've been around for a long time, and letting them know if they follow the systems that we have in place, and talk about an employee manual. You know, we did do that for a long time, where everything that, you know, our business ran out of everything that was in our head. And then we put a manual together. And once we put that manual together, things became much easier, because you couldn't say, well, you know, this is the way we do it. Well, you know, we've talked about that, but now they have a copy of our manual, and our manual has evolved into, I think it's about 55 pages, you know, for a little hair salon. It kind of is amazing to me. But everything that we do from start to finish in the salon is a reflection of what our manual reads. And there's no excuses at this point, you know, because we go through the manual as a team every year. Everybody signs off on it that they've heard it. We actually read it. This is the first year we didn't read it in a group. But we'll typically, everybody will read a couple of pages. We'll sit around the salon, and everybody reads it and then signs it. And any questions throughout, any changes, you know, where they're talked about at that point. But
what's your strength as a leader?
And my strength as a leader.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Create magic. I like to kind of just, you know, I like to come into the salon. I like to have fun with the team. I like to sit down with them. I like the numbers. Mm-hmm. You know, talking about how they can be better. With the numbers, you know, by the numbers are in place to influence the behaviors. And so I like to keep everybody abreast of what their numbers are.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, just being there to really help them, lead them, you know, and share with them. And I love what you said earlier too, Jim. You said you're willing to have the tough conversations, right? So as a leader, like, you can't shy away from wanting to have tough conversations. You know, we have like a whole generation of leaders out there right now that want to be friends with their team members. You know, it's okay to be friendly, but you can't be friends, you know? And so leading numbers can be a tough situation, right? So being able to do that. So how about you, Tina? What would you say that you've done that's incredible with your leadership? And what are you doing right now to fix your leadership and to continue to grow your leadership?
I think our team members can rely on me to be the support and to help get things done. So once it comes to me, they know that, okay, it's gonna happen. Like, things are going to be implemented, or, you know, things are going to change. I've never been a person that from when I was younger, like, I don't like bullying. I don't like, chatter in the salon and gossip or anything like that. So I'm pretty strict about that in the salon. Like there's none of that allowed. And so it creates a zone of safety for everybody. And they know that if there is a challenge, that it can be talked about and discussed and it will be put to rest, and that's it. So as much as I'm their friend, they also know that if I'm having a conversation with you, that it's serious and that they do take it to heart. So I think that that's my strength. I think what I'm continuously working on is, because I rely on Jim for the numbers, for me to really be a little bit more involved with the numbers and understanding that. So I understand them and I know what's expected. He leads with numbers and then I lead with actions. So meaning he'll break the numbers down for the team. And then I'm like, okay, this is, because I'm behind the chair, this is how you look at one guest. Like when you look at one guest, what are your opportunities with that guest? How much can we do? How much can our guest experience? And I think that there's a trust level there because I do it every day right along with them. And so I think I have that, but I'm always continuously working on that because I don't want to hide behind I'm also a salon owner and I'm also a leader and I'm also a coach. And I want them to know that it is hard and I get it. Like you can't do the numbers that he expects all the time. But if you follow the system and you try, then it'll be okay.
I think that one thing that Tina does so beautifully is she leads by example.
Yeah.
She does what we're asking them to do. And again, we've gotten really, really careful. Tina says the numbers that I expect. And I guess we do expect a certain performance out of each one of our stylists. But again, I'm really, really careful talking about dollars with the younger generation now, because the younger generation is not driven by the dollar. So it's about making sure that our team follows our systems, because if they follow the systems, the dollars are just going to happen. Yeah. So we've kind of really don't talk about dollars too much with the younger generation coming up because I've seen it. It can even turn them off. If you talk about, which is kind of amazing to me, Wynn does a little bit of thing about that. How many of you guys like money? Okay. Maybe half the people raise their hands, how many of you people, but everybody, it's kind of a funny thing, even though the generations are not dollar driven, they all still love the Louis Vuitton purses and, they all, the Louis Vuitton shoes and, they all like all that stuff, but they're not driven by the dollar. Well, that all takes some pretty serious money to live that kind of a lifestyle.
to maintain.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And I love it. I know we've been working with some salon owners on this, really training up the next leader to talk the numbers so that the owner is talking more about the personal stuff and things that to grow their leadership, to grow their personal lives, whatever they want with their dream boards, right? So we've been kind of working on that too. And I love that you talked about example, because, how do you lead? Wynn always said there's 3 ways: by example, by example, by example. So how many times have you seen a leader that says you have to be on time, but that leader is not on time? Like, are you kidding me right now? Like you can't lead that way. And so again, it's not by what you say. People do what people see. Not right. People don't do what people say. And so I think that's incredible. What kind of things have you learned through that, Tina? I know my daughter, she's a great example in that area because she's my business partner. And then we have salon partners in each of our salons as well too. And we're always working on that, like, okay, what's that area of weakness that you have right now? And some of them will say, being on time. That's one of their areas of weaknesses, some of the leaders. And it's like, okay, well, do we want this to be a non-negotiable or not? Like, do we want to pull this off the table? Because if you're not doing it, then there's no way we can hold other people accountable to it. So what do you want? What do you guys really want? So Tina, what have you done in that aspect in some areas that you've struggled with?
I think honestly, it's going to sound crazy, but it's almost like self-talk, self-positive talk. And sometimes, there's always a committee in my head, and they're always having meetings at inappropriate times. And so it's telling my face to be upfront, a lot of times I found myself having the conversations that I wanted to have with the team member in my head, you know, and I said, I can't do this. Like, I can't continue to expect something to change when I'm really frustrated with you, yet I'm more frustrated with you in my head, but to your face, I'm like, oh, it's okay, you know? So I think that really putting it out there that, listen, I'm frustrated with you right now. Like, I'm really trying to understand what your actions mean. And I don't want to assume that they mean something that maybe you didn't intend. So let's talk it out. So I'm really working on that. I said, you know, I'm going to be 42 this week. And as a woman, thanks. As a woman, I think I'm learning to be more assertive with my time and with my energy. And that includes, for sure, you know, the biggest part of it is at work. And that I have to be more comfortable in saying things that I want and that I expect, instead of always trying to, it's okay, and do it myself. And so I'm always going to continue to work on that. But I think that I've gotten better at that.
Yeah. That's so good. And that's an area I know that I'm constantly working on. This year has been a real focus for me, and then with our salon leaders and then the leaders that I'm coaching, and that's the 3 R's. And we call that what's required of me, what gives me the greatest return, and what gives me the greatest reward. And so, like, doing those 3 columns on a continual basis. And it's
I love that.
Yeah, if they're not matching up, right? So what shifts, Tina, you know, first, you know, do I need to take before I continue to coach, you know, my team, you know? And so that's an area that I'm working on with fixing my leadership, which kind of ties into the 3rd month. And we're working on that right now, Tina and Jim. It's fixing your communication. And so I think that's a constant, right? So even you guys have been married for 15 years, you know, Brian and I always coming up with new ways every year. How can we communicate better? And I found very interestingly, it's like, oh, I'm having all these staff meetings, but I'm not having a meeting with my husband. And so let's talk about first communication together, because you work together, right? And you're married. And so let's talk to people who like want to work with their spouses, right? So what advice do you give for that as far as communication? Like, how have you fixed your communication with each other as you continue to grow and build your companies? So we'll start with you, Jim.
You have to have, I mean, any conversation that's had, you have to have an open mind. I mean, you know, again, Tina's quite a bit younger than me, and she'll come to me with ideas. And again, being around this as long as I've been, you know, I've been doing it 20 years longer than she has. And it's having that, you know, being able to sit back and listen sometimes. And I am, and Tina she's ever to give me the look, because sometimes she'll come to me and I'll immediately say no. You know, no, that's not going to work or whatever. But, you know, then I'll think about it, or she'll bring it up again. And you know, and if she brings it up again and I've already shut it down that way, it's usually a little bit of a different tone, but it gets my attention. And, yeah. And just having that willingness to bend and, you know, to appreciate everything that she has she brings a lot to the table. I mean, a lot of times I think Tina's bringing more to the table than I am right now in the salons. And then on a personal level, I love our dinners. You know, we go out to dinner. We try to do it at least once a week, sometimes twice. Sometimes, I mean, I would be out every night if Tina would, but Tina doesn't like to go out like I do. But having that nice dinner, just kind of, you know, going on a Saturday night and having a martini and reflecting on, you know, the positive things that have happened throughout the week and what we need to do to continue to grow as a couple and as a business, you know.
I love that. What's your favorite martini?
Grey Goose, extra dirty with blue cheese olives.
He knows it right away. I love it. This is awesome. Okay, Tina, how about you? How have you been working on fixing your communication either at home and in your companies?
Well, I'll start with personal. At home, I think for us, for me, it's all in my head, you know, and so I can't expect the result if I don't share it with him, or if I'm frustrated with him and I don't say anything to try to keep the peace. And so we've definitely worked on just say it, you know, say what you're thinking, and let's see where we can go from there. So, and that's always been something we continue to work on. It's not, I don't think that that's ever going to stop, because I think we evolve as human beings, and we change. And what was important to you 10 years ago is no longer important to you now, and something different is. And so I think also growing with each other is a big deal, and understanding that. And I think that that leads right into business. For us, I think our team members do see that we respect one another. You know, I mean, we may not always agree or see eye to eye, but there's always a respect there, whether it's in our home and whether it's in our business. For us, we made a decision a long time ago that we're husband and wife first and foremost. And so we're not going to allow something that happened at work or in our businesses get between who we are as a couple. And so that puts strength into the things that we value. And our team knows that. They know that we stand behind each other. So if, you know, it's always funny, they do play the mom and dad role at the salon. Like they don't tell, they go to him for certain things and they go to me for certain things, because they know they'll get away with it. And we know that, you know, like we know, like he'll come home, like somebody will ask something of him, and he'll be like, hey, so-and-so talk to me about this. I'm like, I was at the salon. Why wouldn't they ask me that? You know, and but they know that they're going to get a different reaction from him or from me. But I think having respect for one another, and you know, the fact is he's my coach too. You know, he's always been my coach. He's been my number one supporter, my number one cheerleader, and he set me straight when I needed to be set straight, and he lifts me up in the moments that I need to be lifted up. And that's valuable to me. You know, I don't take for granted that he has 20 years experience on top of my, like, I don't have that, you know, and you need to learn from that. And I think that sometimes people look at somebody who's been in it for a long time and think that they're no longer relevant. And that's not it at all. I mean, if you can sit down with people that have been around it for a while and just get in their mind of what they went through, like, holy cow, you know, you can learn so much from that. So to me, that's always a number one. And I'm always looking at him as my coach. Like we laugh about, you know, when Boss's Day comes around, I always get him a card, because at the end, like, you know, we laugh, like Tina's the boss of the house, and I may be, but he's the boss. Like I look up to him, and I value his input on everything. And I don't have to always agree with it, but I respect it. And so I expect that from our team members, and I expect that from myself for him and for us.
I'm a little bit surprised that she used the words. Did you see? She said, you know, sometimes I get a little frustrated with him. I didn't know she ever got frustrated.
You're like, no way.
Yeah.
Frustrated what? What would frustrate me?
I love the fact that you decided, you know, who's going to make the final decision. And that's something that's been really important with my husband and I, you know, and the companies as we run them, you know, who's going to make that final decision? Yeah, I'm going to listen to your ideas, but who has the kind of like the right to make this? Because the team will pick up on that, and you can actually lose people when they see some dissension, right? And so I've been coaching a lot of salon owners that have their children in their companies, and what the parents don't realize is that when, you know, their kids, like maybe the team doesn't care for the children, right, that's working in there. And so, like, how can we raise your leadership to help coaching your children, right? And also, how can we raise your children's leadership, and what does that look like, and kind of working through that process, because family can make or break your company. Absolutely. You know, and so it's important to really separate that. So I have two more. So the next month we focus on fixing your attitude. So what would you say, you know, of course we had COVID hit, we all had the right of way to really have a bad attitude last year, right? But I have a feeling that maybe you're like me, where some days I had a bad attitude, but most of the time I had a possibilist attitude, meaning I saw the possibilities of what could happen with our company. Otherwise you would be shut down, like most salons shut down that have the bad attitude, so to speak, the negative attitude. So Jim, let's start with you. What have you done to really fix your attitude this past year?
I'm not going to lie and say it's been easy, because it's really been a tough road. And, you know, I guess I would say that, you know, Tina's a huge influence or she really, really helps me with my attitude and puts me in check, because I mean, we bounce everything off of each other, and I'll tell her exactly how I'm feeling, and she'll tell me, God, and I know deep down, what I'm thinking sometimes isn't the answer. I just need to vent it sometimes, or so
Mhm.
what do I do to keep my attitude in check? Run it past Tina. Lay it all on her.
It's so important to really yoke yourself and surround yourself with higher minded people, so if you look at all 5 of these areas, I always think, man, who is it that could elevate me, right, in my foundation, who can elevate me in my leadership, who can elevate me in my communication, who can elevate me in my attitude. So you've done that. So I love that, Jim. And how about you, Tina? How do you keep that optimism that you have, because it's so beautiful always, and I feel like you're a possibilist too, you see potential.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I'd love to look at the good in everybody if I can, I mean, I think you can put a really horrible person in front of me, and somewhere, somehow I will try to find something that makes that person a little brighter. I think I've learned to not be as reactive. And so I think having a partner, I know my husband is a very reactive person. So in anything that we do, he reacts first. And it's not always the right reaction in the moment, but it's out of frustration. And so I've learned to just kind of sit back and let's look at everything first, and then let's come up with a response. And I've also learned that it's okay to say, I don't have the answer right now, and that I will get back to you. Let me think about it. Let me think on it. And I will get back to you on that. And so that's been a big one for me. It's not always easy being the person that everybody kind of relies on to be the positive light. So I do a lot of, I do take some alone time. I do walks, I work out, and I read books. I love to read. And so that's kind of my time to really be able to take care of Tina, to be able to be who I am. But I don't know. I don't want to hide behind this COVID thing. I mean, everybody has taken on COVID in very different ways, and it's a very emotional. For some people, it became very personal, and so I'm learning to live my life in less judgment. And I can't control how they feel about all of this, and so for me, it's as long as we're doing everything in our power to do it correctly and the right way, and having safety in our businesses, and being a listening ear, and being more understanding to people's schedules and things that are going on in their lives. I think that that's what it's allowed us to continue to stay open and be successful in the moment of a hard time for everybody. And so I kind of try to look at my life that way. Like, this isn't going to define who we are. This is just giving us a moment in time to reflect on what we were doing right. And there were moments in business that we were like, things need to change. Like, they're going well. And yes, we are successful. And yes, the numbers are happening, but there's a shift that's trying to happen. And what is it? What is it? And for us, COVID was the opportunity to really stop and say, okay, these are the shifts that need to take place. And they're not going to happen right now. Right now, we're just in the process of, I feel like we've planted the seed and now we're just kind of watching it. And some days it's still just dirt there. There's nothing coming out, and so you water it some more, and you talk to it and add positive vibes to it. And we think that in a year or two, I think that it's going to flourish, and we're going to see the benefits of having the mind shift. And so, I always say I'm not the creator. Like, I don't have the creative imagination that way. Like, put me in doing hair and I'm in. Like, that's where my heart's the happiest. But I'm not the dreamer that way. He's the dreamer in that. And then talking to Robert, and Robert Croming's and Mary the other day, and like the way he shifts the business and how he's looking at it, and how I don't think they have the luxury to sit on it the way we do. But because they don't have that luxury, they have to implement because of who they are in our industry. We kind of like just get in line behind them, and we're like, all right, let's try it. Like, Robert's trying it. Let's see what it does, And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I think going back to having an open mind and an open heart, like whatever, what's the worst that can happen? Like things don't work out and then you change and shift again, you know? And so, I don't know. I love what I do. I really do. And I know that sometimes like people might look at it and be like, is she for real? Like I love people and I love our team and I love who I get to do it. And the fact that you're interviewing us and asking us these questions, like, do we have a secret sauce? I don't know. I mean, we do what we do and we work hard. Like we're in it. We are in our salons. We are there on our days off and we're working on it when we're not in the salons. And I think that's it. Like be in it, you know, and try to do the best you can, I guess. I don't know.
I love that. And, you know, I remember when this all happened, I remember telling my team, I said, listen, no matter what happens, I want you to know if I have to file bankruptcy, I want you to know we're going to pick up the pieces and we're going to start again because I know that I'm supposed to do this. Like, this is my mission. Like, it's I call it my ministry, business/ministry. And you know, when you know, like, this is who I am. And I feel like that's the same thing with you, Jim and Tina. And that's what I love about you so much, you know, and being able to do that. So let's talk about the fifth strategy. And we always talk about fixing your hiring. So I love that you've made some shifts and you've adapted, changing up how you do hiring too. I think that's really cool. We have too. We've sat down and said, okay, here's what we're doing wrong. We need to really have some real strong non-negotiables of who we're gonna hire, right? And we're not gonna hire just bodies that do hair. We're going to make sure that they have our values, and we're going to sit down and say, what's our non-negotiable values that they have to exhibit or have, right? But it takes a while to figure those out, right? And I love it. I was talking to Nicole Cumberlander the other day, and she said that she utilizes competency-based hiring. And I thought, oh, I'm totally looking that up. It was really awesome. So I can see some shifts that I can make in all of my companies with that too. So we're always working on fixing our hiring. What else haven't you said about hiring that you guys are working on to fixing your hiring? So we'll start with you, Tina, and we'll end with you, Jim.
I think the biggest thing, I mean, a non-negotiable for us is you have to be kind and you have to have a say yes attitude, because those are two things that I can't teach. I can't coach. I can't make you read a book and like you're going to become that person. Like you can shift it a little bit, but at some point during the time that they're with you in your company, the truth starts to come out, and it's usually doesn't align with who our team is. We are not willing to jeopardize the magic of our team to bring a body on. And so that's number one for us. Like we said that over and over, like, it would be easy to just bring anybody in because we can feed them and make more money. But that doesn't happen. Like you have to be the right fit in order for you to work. And the right fit is you have to be willing to say yes. You have to be willing to put the effort in, and you have to be nice. I can teach you how to be a great hairdresser. No doubt. Not just me. If you hang around our team and you pay attention, we can teach you how to be successful with our skills. And the way he teaches how to be a business-minded hairdresser, that we can make it happen. That's not a problem. So that's a non-negotiable for us. And it always has been. And the times and it's been a few times that we've kind of gone off that path, it's always kicked us in the teeth. Like, it's always like, oh, that's not going to happen. And it shifts the whole dynamic of this magical team that we've worked so hard to create. And at the end of the day, the ones that are with us right now are the ones that have stayed loyal and true to us. And so that doesn't go unseen in our eyes. Like, that's important to us. And so we're always going to make sure we nurture that. So I think that's the biggest shift, or continuing sustainability.
I love that so much. Jim, how about you?
So talking about, the way we're going to change our hiring, and I mentioned earlier that we're going to maybe bring people in that have already done hair. And the girl that we did, Megan Powell, I'm not sure if you know Megan, but she's a national educator for Paul Mitchell. I always joke around. I say, I've known Megan since she was this tall when she was 6, and now she's this tall. And I take advantage of that joke because I don't know too many people that are that much shorter than me. So I love that. But when Megan came on board with us, even though we've known her for as long as we have, and knew that she was a phenomenal hairdresser, when we sat down with her to come to work for us, I'll never forget it. We had lunch with her, and she really wanted to come with us. She knew who we were in the industry. And again, we've known her on a personal level for years and years too. Here's what we're going to do. You're not just going to come in, even though she was a seasoned hairdresser and was so good. You're going to come in and we're going to put you to work as an assistant. And we did that for a month with Megan. And we would do that with anybody that comes and works for us, because again, we have to make sure that they're a fit. We want to make sure that that they're going to like where they're going to be. But even more so than that, we're going to make sure that the rest of our team is going to be accepting of, and if somebody's a good person, our team will accept them. But we got to make sure that chemistry is there and they can feel our culture prior to just coming in and starting to do hair. It's super, super important to us.
Well, and also too, it helps them understand that just because you're a hairstylist doesn't mean that you get excused from doing shampoos when necessary, helping clean up the salon, staying after your busy Saturday to help the team and the salon look presentable for work on Sunday. So when we start them that way, I'm not saying, the shift that's happening is that we're not going to do it for as long of a period of time, but you still have to be a part of that, because I think it reminds people of being humble, and that it takes a whole team. It takes a village to make one day in the salon work, from the check-in point at the service desk to the stylist to, our assistants in the back who, create magic. Like, I have clients that sit in my chair all the time and they're like, I can sit in that ladder lounge all day long with Juliana or with Nikki, or, we're like the cherry on top because they get their hair done, but it's the whole team experience that keeps them coming back, and we can't do that by ourselves. And it's not one hairstylist. It's a whole magic that happens, and you have to be a part of that.
Starting at the service desk.
Starting at the service desk. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that goes right back to the next one, fixing your foundation. So constant, fixing the systems, what's broken, what do we need to fix this month, Right. So I love that. So thank you guys for playing along with us with our strategies that we have. And you guys are the epitome of my quote this year, which, I think one of the things I've watched over the years, not just myself, why I failed in the past, but salon owners that I coach. And that is, you have to have a heart for people, but you also have to have a head for business. And you guys are the epitome of that. So I just want to applaud you guys for taking on those qualities. I love you guys so much. And thank you for being on this interview. What last piece of advice do you have for salon owners and leaders listening right now? We'll start with you, Tina, ladies first, and Jim, we'll end it with you.
I would say just hang in there. I think, continue to love your business, continue to want to fight for your business, and just to hang in there. I don't know. I for me, there have been moments, I think, that if I didn't have Jim as my husband and as my partner, I would have been like, I'm done. But I'm so glad that wasn't the situation. I'm so glad that I'm still in it and I'm able to be a part of it, and that you may not know it in the moment, but there are many people watching and many people listening, and that you are making a difference for somebody. And so, continue to just work on yourself and do what you love. You got to love it. I think at the end of the day, I think that this is an industry that if you didn't love it, it would be very, very hard to be in, because it's so people driven and so many people rely on you to feel better when they're done. And so, you got to take care of yourself, and I think just love it. Continue to love it.
Thank you, Tina.
When you're a couple and you work together like that, as soon as she said, hang in there, I thought, shit, he just stole what I was going to say.
It's like Brian and I, we always finish each other's sentences.
But I would say the same thing. Hang in there. And as a salon owner, as we both are, you might not be seeing that light yet. I mean, there's different phases of, what's happening across the country right now. And some people are just getting back into it again and maybe not seeing the light there, but look for the light and know that there's a light. And I really believe, we've, in our area here in Chicago, we've lost a lot of salons that did not make it through COVID. And so I think of the opportunity moving forward and the growth that we have as a salon that's sustained through all of this. And where we're going as a company and the people that we want to take on board to grow with us. And so as a salon owner, I would just say, look for that light, because it is out there, and you will find it, and you will succeed. keep moving forward.
Get yourself a good coach. Get yourself mentors. Surround yourself with people that are in it, like yourself. I mean, I remember when I first met you and you were amazing back then, and now to the way you've elevated your whole company and your shift and the things you provide for salon owners and for stylists. Like, how wonderful is that? I mean, I think that if we think back to when we all started, we didn't have any of that. It was like sink or swim, right? Figure it out. And now there's so many opportunities, so many people out there that want businesses to be successful, that want this industry to continue to grow. So surround yourself with people like that. Like, you can't do it by yourself. And it's okay if you fail, and to just get up and try again. Like, just do it. Like, you can do it.
How can people find both of you?
How can they find us?
Yes.
Oh, well, so Instagram, I'm Tiz.Salerno, Tiz.Salerno. Jim is the real Jim Salerno.
But then everybody wants to impersonate me, so.
Of course they do. Of course.
James Anthony Salon, SalonJAS. Look us up that way. If you want a phone number, we're a phone call away. We're always there. We don't hide behind anything. I mean, we talk numbers, we share them, because sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down, and it happens. It is what it is. It's the nature of the beast.
For sure. Thank you guys so much. You're amazing. I love you very much.
Love you too, Tina. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us live today too. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Thank you, team. Bye-bye.